I feel like you're going to spit it out everywhere.
I'm scared. Dorothy brought me a fiery ginger shot for immunity because I have a sore throat. I did it. Oh my God. That's disgusting.
It burns the throat really nicely.
Really nicely.
Thanks for tuning into our edit sesh. I'm Effie.
And I'm Dorothy, two passionate photographers from Hamilton, Ontario.
Join us as we dive into answering FAQs, share tips, and discuss life's moments, all while savoring the rich aroma of our favorite brew and working through our edit cues. Whether you're a photographer or a pal,
we're beyond happy you're joining us.
Hi, Dorth.
Hey.
How you doing this week?
Pretty good.
I'm not. I'm in my menstrual phase.
That's good. So,
That's good.
Speaking of phases, so last week you were like, okay, one of your goals is to be off the internet, and I was like, I'm gonna get a tracking app, and I did. Nice. But I'm tracking it for the first time ever, so basically it's not giving me really any information. But like it has like a lot of stuff on this app. Like it will be like higher estrogen levels can aid muscle repair. If you've been working out today, you feel you're able to train at a higher intensity.
Nice.
So
that's so funny because last night I literally asked ChatGPT to, I know I used it, but I know it's so good. I used it to make me basically a chart of my phase based on me getting my period on Monday. And I said, if my period started on Monday, can you make me a schedule for like the next 2 months on like what phase I'm in, what I should be eating, and how I should be exercising? And it's just so good.
So here's the problem though, is like I feel like I keep getting new information and then I'm like, it's too much. Like it's so like seed cycling or whatever they call it.
Seed cycling?
Is it seed cycling or just like I don't know, whatever. So like basically like working out based on your cycle. Yeah. But then I was also reading about, it's called carb or calorie confusion.
Yeah.
So one day you eat, so like whatever, you find out, do you know how to find out how much you should eat to lose weight? Well, you don't need to lose weight, but you're supposed to find out your BMI based on how active you are, and you like put those together. Mm-hmm. That's how many calories you should eat in a day to stay the weight you are.
Right.
Then if you want to basically lose weight, you minus 500 calories from that.
Right.
So based on that, like one day you're supposed to eat that much, and then the next day you're supposed to eat like a little bit less, and one day is supposed to be more carbs than the other day. Yeah. So your body is like, what's happening? But then also...
But is that research researched on men, or is it women specifically?
I think it's women specifically.
Okay.
Because I've watched this like huge long thing on YouTube, and then at the same time you're supposed to do this like training where you actually don't train. So it's all about intensity. So like you train like so that you basically can't breathe for like 10 minutes, and it's called your like. There's like a word for it. It's called your like shoot, I wish I could remember, but it's like basically like your body has to like take time to reabsorb like oxygen, so that causes your body to like burn calories.
That's weird. Don't do that.
Anyways, I was trying to put all of this together. I was like my cycle. I was like calorie confusion and workouts based on, it's called, the workout style is called EPOC. So okay. I was like, I put all those three things together, and I was like, okay, make me a schedule based on this. And my ChatGPT was like, I can't, basically. It's like,
yeah, that's a lot of information. Yeah. And probably too much. You should just start like basic.
I know. Anyway.
Also, don't just like hold your breath.
No, it's not holding your breath. It's you're working out so high intensity that you're using so much oxygen in your body that I don't know how to explain it.
Okay. But you can still, I mean, if you're going to do it, still do it in the proper like phase.
Yeah, so basically you're supposed to like eat a lot of carbs the day before you do the high intensity workout.
Fair.
And then you're supposed to have a lot of protein like after. But then if you're supposed to connect that all to your cycle so that you're eating correctly for your cycle at the
Right.
same time, essentially.
Right. It's hard.
Yeah, it is really hard.
And chat couldn't do it for you, eh?
Well, I gave up because it was really long.
Yeah,
I'm like, I
it
can't
is.
read this.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know. I feel like I would write a book. It would be a book on
Yeah.
like how to train properly and how to be the best.
That's
health
what, yeah.
you
I'm
can ever be.
literally reading a book about that right now.
Like, you know
so.
when Gwyneth Paltrow, is that how you say her name?
Yeah.
Went crazy on like fitness.
Yeah.
Well, it's not even fitness. It's like eating
Wellness.
a certain way.
Yeah.
And she got all crazy.
Yeah.
I don't feel crazy to the point of like I am crazy because I'm not following it. I'm just reading about it.
Yeah.
But like sometimes I'm talking, I'm like, I probably sound crazy
Me
to people.
too. I was literally telling Keith about all this last night. And I was like, I literally sound so cuckoo. But I don't care because it feels right. Like it
feels right.
It does feel good. Like it just feels like someone understands you when I'm like feeling like shit because I'm on my period and like I went to the gym and I did a spin class yesterday and then I was like,
yeah, that was a bad idea.
it was such a bad idea.
Yeah.
At the time I was like, this is hard, but like it's supposed to be hard. And then after I was like, I'm glad I did it. And then the rest of the day I was like, I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah. And then you probably didn't eat to
No, I
help
did.
recover.
I did.
Like a certain way though. Did you eat a lot of protein? Did you eat carbs? Did you eat a lot?
Yes, I've
Did
been
you have
really
a lot
good
of
at
water?
eating. I've been really good at eating.
Yeah.
Yeah. The eating part I'm doing good at because I am trying to gain weight basically and like just increase my protein.
Yeah.
Um,
Anyways, this is not a weight loss podcast.
no, it could be.
Boring.
It's turning into like a wellness podcast.
No, it's unfortunate.
So my app that I've been using to block myself off of Instagram,
Yeah, it's really working.
it's very working too much. It's like working in a bad way.
Maybe
'Cause
we
I'm
like pull it back a little bit. You were basically like, I'm allowed 1 minute a day.
It's 5 minutes, 5 times a
insane.
day. It goes by so fast.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's 20 minutes.
Why don't you give yourself like
Not 20.
15 times 5?
15 minutes
Like
times
add-
5? Yeah.
Like
that might be better.
5 is 5
mean,
times going on.
I really only need 5 minutes to check the important stuff, like messages
but you
and
need to
stuff.
be able to do it more.
I do it 5 times a day. Still, that's okay. If it was 15 minutes, I would
Well,
literally
think
start
about it.
scrolling. I would just start doing
That's
scrolling.
like morning, you know, before lunch, after lunch, and then the evening, basically. That's not enough. Not enough for me.
Yeah. I used a lot when I was posting those things. It takes more than 5 minutes to do a post.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I was using it a lot, but anyways, I went to my golf league last night.
Yeah.
And at the last one, my team and I decided we would do sweatpants and a sweatsuit, like a full sweatsuit. And
And
like,
you're the only one who remembered.
no, I was the only one that did it because they messaged me on Instagram and told me that they weren't doing it anymore, but I didn't check my Instagram, so I was the only one that showed up in a full sweatsuit.
It's like the bunny moment. In the movie.
And they're like, we messaged you. I was like, right. Yes, you did.
But it's not a big deal. It's not
No,
like
I loved
they
it.
come dressed up fancy to play golf.
no.
really.
They were still in joggers and a sweater. It wasn't that different. I was just very excited to all be like matchy. Plus, it was National Sweatpants Day yesterday, so I fit in.
I feel like those national hug days are so stupid because I think it was like our national whatever days. 'Cause
Yeah.
I think it was also National Hug Day yesterday.
Was it?
Yeah.
Cute.
But
What a cozy day.
apparently you can buy holidays like that because I remember somebody saying one of the girls from a reality TV show, I think it was like the guy that Tom Sandoval was on. I was going to say Scandoval. Tom Sandoval was on.
I don't know who that is. It's gonna bother me. I've been watching so much pop culture Jeopardy. I should know this. Have you watched it yet?
No.
Oh my god, I'm obsessed.
Vanderpump Rules. Oh my gosh, that was hurting my brain.
Oh, okay.
I think it was Ariana. Is that a girl's name from that
I
show?
don't know. I don't
Who
watch it.
cares? Anyways, she bought a birthday. She bought a day. She bought a holiday. Apparently,
Nice.
once for like a year. I don't know what holiday it was. I don't know what she named it. I think it was on her birthday.
Nice.
Anyways, apparently it's pretty expensive. I should buy a holiday for my birthday.
Yeah.
And just be like, everyone gets it on their calendar. That is Dorothy's birthday. That'd be wild.
Do you want to hear about... I'll tell you about my auction fail, and then we'll introduce Brian and Ryanne.
I can also ask you about my Reddit question.
Okay. So we bought a Lomi in the auction. Do you know what a Lomi is?
Yes.
The composter?
I almost got one, but I did not because I was reading about them, and apparently you can't put like a lot of cooked things in it. And
That's not true.
Maybe I was reading about a different one. But then also I think they said a lot of like oils and stuff shouldn't go in it. Maybe they upgraded since I've read about them. Who knows? Anyways, yeah,
maybe.
Continue.
You can put mostly everything in there. You just can't put like hard things like pits and bones and stuff like that. Anyways, so we bought this Lomi. It said on the auction site that it was fine. It's like in working order, but what the heck do they know? So we were like, okay, let's buy it. We bought it for I think $275, and Phil and Joy, our neighbors, they have a Lomi. So I was like, can you just come over quickly just to make sure it like works and like just like set it up for us, because I don't want to like have to read this to learn. And he comes over and he's like, this is broken, like right away. The blade that like churns all the stuff on the inside was just completely snapped off. And I thought it just like wasn't put together yet, but it was just snapped off.
Shoot.
So Phil was like, just the bucket part with the blade is broken. The actual outside part is brand new. Like it's never been used. Like the filter was not even like, the charcoal hasn't been put into the filter, and like it was never used. So what we think happened was someone broke their Lomi.
Yeah.
Couldn't get a replacement bucket because I saw on the website that they're sold out. So they bought a new Lomi, swapped the buckets, and then returned the new Lomi with the broken bucket.
Yeah.
And that's what we bought.
Yeah.
So now we got our money back, and now we have a Lomi that we can basically have a brand new Lomi if we buy the replacement bucket for $100. Yeah.
Yeah.
But after like having it for like a bit, I already don't want it anymore.
Why?
It's just so big, and just it feels like it's a lot of
But
extra
it's really
work.
Well, yeah, it is. But it's kind of nice if you have a garden because you can put all that stuff in the garden.
Yes, but the other thing is Juno has been near, like we've been at my friend's cottage who uses a Lomi, and she dumps it in the garden, and Juno just goes ape shit for that shit. She like eats it, which is not good.
You can give me the Lomi because I wanted one.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
I already give it to my friend. Oh, rude. But if they end up changing their mind, I'll give it to you.
That's okay.
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 That's okay.
Well, you already gave them to it, so.
Well, if he doesn't come and get it.
Yeah. All right. Okay, this question is it terrible to politely ask my photographer where my pictures are and how much longer they'll be? And this person wrote, I certainly don't want them to feel rushed. I'm just so excited. I love their work, and I can't wait to see how she's captured the day. She said it would be about a month, and it's been 5 days shy of a month. Is it rude or uncouth or unprofessional to tell her I'm excited to see her work and how much I will have to wait? There's a lot of advice here, but
yeah, I'd say just wait the 5 extra days, maybe even 6. Give her like an extra day.
yeah.
If she's specifically said how long it's gonna take, then wait that long, because she's set the expectations already.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I feel like an easy answer for us because it's like, yeah, like those messages can be like anxiety inducing.
they're so annoying.
But like, I think if it's like outlined in the contract or whatever, or like even it's not in the contract, if it's in an email, like it's going to take 2 months to get these photos to you, but I'll send you sneaks after like a certain amount of days. Like if you don't get the sneaks, I would ask if that's like how they're set up.
Yeah.
If sneaks aren't in their package, then like I wouldn't ask for them either.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I would just wait the amount of time. And then, I mean, yeah, I wouldn't ask like literally the next day after. Like it's been exactly 2 months I'm going to ask. But
Yeah. I don't know. Just don't ask.
yeah, most people on here, it says like, you're not terrible. You shouldn't ask. I'm never, it's like, this is a photographer apparently. It's like, it's not terrible to ask. I'm never mad when clients do it, but they all do it. You will get an eye roll and a polite email back saying, just hold on for a little longer. But yeah, hopefully, like, usually they're on time. And then, yeah, if they're not, then it's justified to ask for an updated timeline. That's what this person said.
Definitely.
But yeah, basically, that's what everybody's asking or saying.
Nice.
So I don't know.
That was an easy one.
Yeah, that was an easy one. I didn't want to make him too hard. Like, didn't want to have to fight every single time, you know? Also, these are like relatively hard to find on Reddit. I don't know why. There's a lot of like questions from new photographers, like asking like, what should be in my contract? And like, couple wants to fly me out to Italy, pay for everything, including lodging, food. Should I ask for an extra day? Like,
Yes.
yeah. Like, there's questions like that.
This is how I quote my destination weddings. Not that I've gotten one yet, but I have quoted one. I say I need to get there one full day before anything that I have to shoot.
I would say 2 days. You gotta recover.
No, it doesn't count. The travel day doesn't count.
Oh, one
So, like,
full day. Yeah.
If I get there on, say, Thursday, and I have to shoot on Saturday, then I have full Friday just to like chill.
Yeah.
And then I'm shooting maybe Saturday and Sunday. Then I would get Monday as a free day, and then Tuesday would be my travel day. So I would get 2 vacation days at the resort or wherever.
One and only, I've done it maybe 3 times, but the last time I did it, we were there for a week, and I was like, I forgot that you could come for like 4 days. I want to go home. I'm like the opposite.
You want to leave?
Yeah.
Well, no, I also quote, Keith has to come with
I
me.
find it weird, like hanging out, like when the whole wedding party's there, and then you shoot the wedding so everybody knows you, kind of, and then you're trying to relax, but you're like, there's like 30 people saying hi to you.
I think that's okay as long as you're
Like,
with
trying
someone.
to avoid them.
Like if you were with Ruben,
Yeah.
like Keith would come as my second shooter.
Yeah.
Ruben could come as your second shooter / just assistant. You're like water boy,
Water boy.
gear donkey.
Oh, man.
Gear donkey.
That's great.
Okay, so our guests this week are Brian and Ryanne. They're photographers from Hamilton. So let's hop on the chat with them. We were recording. Oh, God.
This interview is going well.
Oh.
That's Effie's fault.
Sorry, there was a lot going on.
Brian's answers were all so good.
They were incredible.
Oh, well.
I can't
We'll release them to the world.
after that. It's over.
Start over. I don't know.
Release what?
You know, like when you make art and like in art school and they're like, rip it apart and just like let it be, you know? I don't know. Anyway.
Cool. So I don't know. Ryanne would know.
Set it on fire.
I went to graphic design school, but I had to there was a couple classes like illustration and like 3D, and like they would make you make stuff and then like rip it up because they were like trying to teach you something about creating art for other people. I don't know.
Or not.
Not investing in it as much emotionally or something.
True.
That's too much, honestly.
Yeah, I did make an art piece in school where I like constructed a wax heart and then I melted it with the hair dryer. Took photos of each stage of the process.
Gosh.
Really good.
It was
really good.
basically me destroying my own work.
Yeah. Or I've seen people do like incredible pottery stuff on a wheel and then just fucking break it.
Like,
And I'm like, no.
like your pottery class last weekend.
Yeah, I did that by accident. Okay. So since we weren't recording for the first,
Are you gonna reread it?
Yeah, we gotta do it. We gotta redo it. Today on the podcast, we have Brian and Ryanne. They are analog film wedding photographers working mainly in Toronto, across Canada, and internationally. Brian used to work as a photojournalist and editorial photographer and did stints at the Globe and Mail, the Toronto Star, and was the lead photographer for country music television.
Really? Do you like country music?
No, I don't. I mean, I do like some country music, but I don't love like popular country music,
Yeah.
and I think that's why I got the job.
I'm going to Nashville in like 2 weeks. Are you? Yeah.
What's country music? Hey,
You better start learning country. Yeah. Okay. Ryanne's background is in mixed media art and curation. She worked at a contemporary photography gallery in Toronto before moving into photography, and then more specifically, wedding photography. Beyond weddings, Ryanne takes on a variety of commercial clients throughout the year, and Brian most recently has been expanding into directorial and cinematography roles outside the scope of wedding photography. They got married in 2023 and have been together for 13 years, and although their careers are mostly independent, they often collaborate on a variety of projects, including both commercial and weddings, and run their overall business together behind the scenes. Amazing.
I also know nothing about curating art. I know a friend who curates art in Hamilton, but like that seems specifically like a skill set I don't have.
It's an art form of itself.
What was the studio or gallery that you worked at?
I worked at Gallery 44, like in the 401 Richmond building in Toronto.
Cool.
It was great. I really enjoyed it there. And curation is cool because it's a type of art, like Brian said, but you don't have to make your own art. Like you create art from art. It's very interesting.
The art like experience, I guess.
Yes.
Do you want to just quickly talk about your time when you were working at the Globe and Mail as a photojournalist?
Yeah, so when I was at the Globe and Mail and the Toronto Star, I wasn't like a freelancer. I wasn't like pitching stories, and well, I mean, I did sometimes, but I was mostly being assigned stories. So like when you're on staff or when you're part of like the staff photography team at like a newspaper, you're typically assigned like a story by editors or by your photo editor. And then there's a team of us. So obviously everyone has different skill sets and preferences and things they're good at. So sometimes, you know, you get assigned like a specific section pretty often or more consistently than someone else because you're putting out good work or the editor likes your work. So like I would wake up, I'd have a couple of emails, a couple of assignments being like, okay, you got to be here at this time to do this for this story. And then usually I would have, if possible, a draft of the reporter's story if the reporter wasn't going to be with me to ask questions or interview the person or the thing or whatever. And I would just kind of run around the city, shoot 2 or 3 assignments a day. Sometimes I'd only have one assignment because it was like a long or really important thing. Sometimes I'd be like stuck, like staking out like a location for like 14 hours to get one picture because that's what they need for that story.
What?
Yeah.
Why would you have to stake out a location?
So like, I don't know if you guys remember like Gian Gomeshi. Do you remember that guy?
Is he a murderer?
He was like a radio host and he was like a...
She's probably should have just asked who he was instead of making a really random guess. Is he a murderer?
I'm into crime, okay.
No, but he was like, he was getting like accused of like sexual assault and all these big like things that were happening. It's like a celebrity figure. So I had to like wait like with a bunch of people for him to like come out of a place or come out of like so we can get a picture of him because he was basically like hiding from the public and shit and stuff like that. So like, you know, for that story, I had to like be in one place for like 14 hours just waiting for this dude to like walk on the sidewalk.
You're literally paparazzi.
Yeah, like that stuff I don't like as much. Like investigative journalism is fun because it's exciting and it's like you never know what's going to happen. But it's a lot of just like waiting around and like trying to see if you can catch a glimpse of something. And Yeah, it's kind of like weird like that. But so I've done a few things like that, but I mostly worked in the food section. I did a lot of sports and then kind of just like local breaking news. So like major accidents or fires, and then, meeting with families or people who are dealing with some kind of thing. And it's a big news story for whatever reason. So, but yeah, I'd run across the city and do different things at different points of the day versus like sitting at home, coming up with ideas, emailing editors, being like, oh, this is happening. Can I, should I go here and I can get some pictures for you? And then hoping they say yes and pay you to go. That's like usually what freelancers are doing. And that's what you do until you build a relationship. And sometimes they'll call you to go do something because they think you'll be a good fit for that story and kind of the art that they need for it. And then there's other times where it's just shooting something that you want to do over a period of time and trying to sell it to a publication. That's a lot more challenging and in its own ways, because you're kind of hoping for the best and you're investing your own time and money without any guarantees. But
Right.
yeah, so it's a bit of a grind, like being a freelancer and in that industry. It's not all glamorous and what people think, from an outsider's perspective. I loved it though. It was like
sound like a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. Like when I was shooting for the newspaper, I was shooting like 5 or 6 days a week, multiple assignments a day. And I loved it. I really enjoyed like always having somewhere to go to take pictures of and things to be a part of. And you're kind of around history or monumental occasions and things, or you meet like big figures or like, celebrity type figures, not necessarily actors or stuff, but like, like high profile people, which is always kind of exciting and fun. But it was like a really fun way to start like my photography career when I moved to Toronto and kind of be in that world and made some of my best friends in that industry and stuff. And it's taught me a lot. And I kind of use that now as a wedding and commercial photographer. So it's been,
Amazing.
I wouldn't go back to the grind anymore, not because I'm not used to it anymore. And, but it's always in the back of my mind. I still do some freelance things here and there when it comes up for the right situation. But the everyday night of doing it is tough. Like one of my closest friends right now is at the border of like Vermont and Canada, because he's like, it's like the new inauguration of the president and border stuff. So he's been there for like 4 days with a reporter, just like shooting and, seeing and waiting and finding stories and stuff. So stuff like that I love, but it's tough, when you're trying to make a living and he's a really established photographer. So like he has way more opportunities than I would if I just got back into it at this point in my career. But yeah, True. It's fun. But it was fun. It is fun. Was fun. It's very different than wedding photography, but it was awesome.
Amazing.
I always wondered how people got like jobs covering like sports, and I don't know why my brain never was like, oh, like I would be like they would be paid to be there, but I was always like that'd be fun to do. How do I get in there? They always have like these massively long lenses, and I just stare at the lenses half the time I'm at sports games trying to figure out what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, sports fun. Sports was fun because I like sports. So
we
it's
probably
like
rent those, right?
Because
like
it's a lot of sitting down in one place for a long time.
I saw a new tripod at Henry's that has a seat on it. Have you seen that one?
Yes.
It's a tripod that has a seat.
You could use those at like outdoor sporting events, but like I shot a lot of basketball, so like when I was covering the Raptors, you gotta sit and that's it. Like you put a pillow. Some guys would bring like a cushion, but I was smart enough to do that, so I just sat on the ground like a loser.
But then you did like the tennis that one time. It was so hot.
Yeah. I shot the Rogers Cup, and I was doing the finals. It was like Roger Federer, so it was a big deal. I needed to be there and get a lot of pictures for the paper, and then no one volunteered to do it. And I was like, I'll do it. And I was like, why does no one want to do this? It was like 30 degrees. I was like courtside. It was so like,
I think it was like 45.
I think it was like 45 degrees at court level. And I was just like, no shade, nowhere to go. I went through like 15 bottles of water for like the whole match. And I was just like sweating onto my gear. It was awful, but it was one of the
And then you think they're playing tennis in that.
They're not even moving.
Like, he can't play tennis like that. I think it's crazy.
Did you hear about the ball person at the Australian Open just recently? They fainted.
Oh no!
Oh no! But I believe that like it's super hot at court. Like it's hot like in general, like especially like in Australia. But when you're at court level, it's like at least 10 degrees hotter.
I wonder if it's because of the type of material they use on the court.
Yeah. Here they like at the Rogers Cup or whatever it's called now, the National Bank Open. It's hard court, so it's even worse. So like the sun, when it was a sunny day that day, so like the sun hits and it just reflects right back into you, and it just absorbs the heat, and it just radiates. You're fucking done. It was cool. It was one of the coolest things I ever shot, but it was awful.
That is cool. You have such a cool background. I love that. And then how did you get into the country music stuff?
It's a random ass story. Fuck.
Yeah, I'd love to hear it.
I've been around for too long, you know. I'm swinging. I've been like I have too many.
You're gonna date yourself.
I know. I feel like you're old.
I'm gonna date myself. Well, photographer since I was like 19. So like all these stories have spanned, you know, feels like decades, but it's only been of like, you know, like 10 years or something, you know. So 15 years, 10, 15 years. Yeah, man, it's crazy.
I feel like a lot happens in the first like couple 10 years of like life though. Like your 20s to your 30s. It's like it feels like a lot of like setting up your life. And then now that I'm in my 30s, I'm like, wow, it's pretty boring here.
Yeah, we do a lot. But yeah, for that was fun because like at the time I was working at the newspaper, and there's like, because of ethical things, you can't do commercial jobs and you can't take on external jobs because conflicts of interest and all these sort of like ethical boundaries with journalism. And I love music, and music is like what got me into photography and skateboarding and all these things when I was growing up. And I was like, oh, I want to start shooting like bands. I want to take some band photos and just like be around the industry again. Cause I used to do it like at like a low level with like very dive bars with bands and stuff. And I was browsing Craigslist for for just like random gigs because I was trying to pay rent and stuff. And I look up like music photographer. I'm like looking for photography jobs, and like the post was looking for music photographer. And then like the post was for live concert music plus promo or something. I was like, oh, that sounds perfect. Like it's probably some nobody band. I just want some pictures of their show and like maybe some band pics. I was like, great. So I respond, I'm like, yo, here's my portfolio, etc. I love music. Hire me, pay me $50 or whatever you're gonna pay me. And then I get an email back, and it's signed by Chorus Entertainment, Country Music Television, and I thought it was a scam. Well, fuck, why would you post an ad on Kijiji? Like, you guys obviously have a network of people you can contact. And lo and behold, it was like legitimately the producer of the show that was hiring, looking for a photographer. And then like I sent them my portfolio, and I did like an interview on the phone before an in-person interview, and they liked me enough to like hire me. And then I was working for them for like 2 years. So I like worked on this one specific show for.
It was called Live at the MCV or something.
I don't know. It was basically a show where they interviewed the artist, and then they would perform live in front of a studio audience or something. And they would set it up at bars, and like they would have a set design and all that cool stuff. So I was in like a big production, like I was a part of that, and I was shooting like BTS, but I was also shooting promo for the show and for the artist. So I'd have FaceTime with the musicians, and I'd have all this cool studio stage lighting at my disposal. And I could talk to the lighting techs and I'd be like, yo, this is the idea for the photo. And then they would just do it for me. It was cool. I felt like Annie Leibovitz or something, having this big team work for me to take my picture. But it was a lot of fun. It was really cool. And like I said, I think I got the job because I wasn't a big country music fan. So we'd meet all these people, and I'd be like, nice to meet you. I'm taking your picture. And they're like, yeah, my name's so-so. I'm like, cool. And then I'd be like, yeah, and I'd stand away and I'd do my job. And then I go home and I'd talk to like Ryanne or something, and her sister is a big country fan and stuff. And I'm like, oh, I shot like this band called the Rascal Flatts. Have you heard of them? And Borderline, and have you heard of them? And they're all like, oh my God, like they just won a Grammy. And I'm like, they did. I'm like, they were kind of nice, whatever. But it was really cool. It was fun. The only time I was like kind of starstruck and a little nervous to meet somebody was Shania Twain. Like that was the only I was like oh my God, like I actually know who you are, like, you know, man, it was awesome. It was cool, and I had one time, and she was very nice and very like star like power. It was super cool. Yeah, so it was a lot of fun. I shot Shawn Mendes before anybody knew who he was. He was like a little kid, because this show also owned a YTV kids version, and they had like kid pop stars, and Shawn Mendes was one of them. And then like you look, he's like opera teen. It was so fucking funny. And then like as the years go by, like this guy becomes like this huge celebrity, and I'm like, oh my God, is that the kid that I took pictures of? And it was so funny. But
well, I'm questioning my entire life. You?
No,
No? Okay.
but I'm jealous. That's very cool.
It was fun. It was such a cool experience for me, and like to be in that environment. And I was, like it wasn't like I was getting paid like millions of dollars to do this at all. It was like a nice little thing that I did like a couple times a month, and well, actually pretty frequently, maybe once a week almost. But yeah, it was cool. It was fun to be in that environment in like a super high professional production industry type of role, and it taught me a lot, and it was just like a really cool experience for me. And yeah, I don't know. That's it.
Amazing.
And you guys like were together this whole time because like Ryanne, you keep like chiming in, like parts of the story. So you guys met when you were how old?
Well, we met like in our first year of university.
How old were we?
I was.
You were 19. You were 18.
Brian was 21.
Where did you go to university?
We went to TMU.
Me too.
Oh, yes. Yeah, so it was Ryerson when we went there, but yeah, it's not that in.
Wait,
yeah, we
what's
met.
the program?
So I took the new media program, and at the time it was in image arts, so it's like a fine art degree. And then Brian took
In journalism. Yeah, I was in the journalism program.
And you took video.
I took film studies. Yeah.
Both sides. Yeah.
What did you, Maria?
We graduated what, 2015?
Do you want to see my degree?
No.
I don't think the degree.
your degree from your school that doesn't exist anymore.
I don't even know where my degree is. I love that you have it hanging up.
I'm proud.
2013.
Oh, 2013. Sounds like I graduate. Say that. Oh, there. You're right. I thought.
So we were in school at the same time, but you graduated before you did.
Oh my gosh, we've crossed paths. I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah, Ryanne met playing on the varsity volleyball teams there, so random. But,
Wow.
Well, cool girl status.
I wanted to play sports, but it was just so much commitment.
I didn't even know I could go out for sports.
you don't advertise it. It's not
Like you can walk on. My one friend walked onto our team, but like no one knows that you can do that.
I just like I struggled a little bit going to college. Like, I mean, I had to navigate a few things, but like at the end of it, I was like, oh, I could have tried out for like stuff.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't have got on because I'm only like 5'8", so it probably would have been like.
You definitely could have been good at.
What is it, libero?
Yeah, that's what I was.
That's
what Brian
That's
was.
what I was too.
No
In university, because everyone else was like the next shortest guy on the team after me was 6'5". So
And Brian's like 5'11".
yeah, literally everyone was 6'5" or taller besides me. Yeah,
That's unlucky.
Yeah, when I
It's unlucky.
like in the huddle of all the guys like on the court, I was like, wow, he must be like 5'4". He's small. And then I saw him after the game and he like walks up to me and he's just like taller than me. And I was like, oh, okay.
yeah, I'm like above the
You're
coach.
above
Yeah,
average
you're not in the world of volleyball. Yeah, it was tough going out to like bars and stuff with these guys. You're just
It is funny how like some girls are specifically like, I want a tall guy. I'm like, that's not an attribute that like you have any control over. Like,
Yeah, you do.
no,
Not the person.
like you literally are just tall or you're not. But like
Yeah.
being kind or intelligent or like all these other things, like those are like qualities that like you can work on. I don't understand when people are like, I just want a really tall guy.
6'5", blue eyes, finance.
kind, smart.
Finance guys are like always not kind.
They're definitely a certain type. Yeah, there's a lot of finance.
The only finance guy, what's his name? Jason Tartig?
I don't know.
He was on The Bachelor.
I don't know anything.
Lost it there. I'm on the map. That's out of my scope of.
I'm Lunifer. Finance.
Blue eyes, 6'5".
Okay.
Yeah, Jason Tartig.
Oh, yes.
I'll send you a picture.
He dated the Caitlin Bristow.
They don't care.
Okay.
Don't know.
We'll go into how you guys got into wedding photography, but first I want to go into Ryanne's background. So you were in the photography, new media. You were in new media. What did you, how do you
What did you
explain
do there?
How do you explain to me? It's very hard to explain what new media is.
Yes. That would be a question that most people ask. And even people in my program would wonder on a daily basis what we were actually
What is
doing.
the War of 1812?
It was always very interesting. Like I knew a lot of people that were doing a lot of computer, like UX design and new media. And then a lot of people that just focus on like art installations. And I guess a lot of them also took a lot of film and photography courses.
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, the program, like overarching, was just mixed media arts. Like that's like we had a program where we were coding to make like robotics and do art that way. But then we also have like we did the fine arts, or what's the art history class, like with the other programs. And then our other classes were just either doing like video work, or we were doing photography, or we were just like mixing art and doing projects like in our own way. So a lot of it was project based, and every semester like we'd be putting together like different works, and basically it kind of gave us a lot of free reign to try a lot of mediums and explore and see kind of like what we were drawn to and what we were interested in. And I think that lost a lot of people in our class because they were not specifically driven by like exploring art. They wanted to kind of something more like, I think, like hands-on and directed. And so it worked out well for a lot of us who stayed in it, because we got to kind of find our own way through like work that we gravitated towards and things that kind of made sense to us. And what I ended up like kind of focusing on was curation, which wasn't necessarily an aspect of our program, but one of my professors was a curator as well. And she was just finishing up like her PhD in curation overseas, like while she was teaching us, which was really cool. And I got to curate the shows that like our class was putting together. So that kind of like became my role in the last few years of school. And I did my thesis on curation. And a lot of it was just about like how we experience space and how we interpret things that we see and things that we like experience based on our surroundings or how they're presented. And so that's how like curation will always affect art, because you are setting up how people perceive what they're looking at or what they're interacting with. And it, I think, is often overlooked, but it's also a very interesting, like kind of fine detail of how art is experienced and how it's like set up.
I would love to go to an art gallery with you.
Speaking of which,
That would be so cool.
have you guys been to Red Church at all?
No. I'm familiar with what that is, but I've never been there.
Is it a gallery?
It's a cafe in Hamilton that has like a art gallery in the back. So they have like an interactive, I guess, exhibit by she did a talk at Rooney's, Brianna Shanahan. It's on baseball, women in sports. It's pretty cool.
That's a cool picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, I think the exhibit's gone now, but I was just wondering if you guys have been.
No,
That sounds cool. I'm sorry I missed that, actually.
How do you, this is not on the same like wavelength, but do you find that that skill set has helped you in your job now as like wedding photographers? Like they call it, like, what do they call it? Like transferable skills or whatever?
yes, for both of us, I'd say.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely in different ways, but I think my background has really, I mean, back in the day, like I ended up making our websites and I do all of that stuff, and I like design our print materials and our albums, because to me that's all kind of stuff that's about experience in UX design and just like that side of things. So that's stuff I've always been drawn to, that I like to work on. And then Brian's is more, I think, affected like how we shoot, and especially how you shoot and how we have our client experience.
You guys have two different websites, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they're like, I was looking at them, they're kind of the same but flipped.
Yeah, exactly.
Brianne's is all white,
Looking at it now.
and then Brian's is all dark.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, for me too, like, I think there's like a misconception that photojournalists just sit in a corner quietly and just observe the world and through their lens. But the reality is you have to integrate with your environment, and unless you're shooting a press conference, but even then you're still interacting with like the people and like the environment. I think that's just so important to be in tune with that. And I think a lot of wedding photographers call themselves photojournalists and stuff, but I don't think they have a real sense of like what being a photojournalist is. And being a photojournalist is being a people person first and foremost. You're talking, you're asking questions, you're making people feel comfortable, and you're trying to understand the story. And you can't do that by sitting in a corner like silently and being creepy and weird and quiet, because if people will look at
Just
you,
observing. Like it's not about just.
It's not about just observing. You do observe, but you got to pick and choose your moments, and you have to talk to people and get something out of them. You have to be engaging, and
Yeah, totally.
there's a fine line between doing that and manipulating something to kind of get what you want. But obviously in weddings, there's no ethical like rules and ethics. You can do whatever you want, but or you can ask people to do things. But so for me, like that's been kind of the biggest thing, the way that I talk to people and kind of get something out of people to kind of allow space for me to come in and take the pictures that I want to take. I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, it's really helped us prioritize connection with the people that we work with.
Yeah. There's definitely a difference between like asking someone like, can you do this specific thing? Like stand a certain way, and then, being a certain person to like have them be comfortable to like be themselves in a room with you. Like, especially like there's so many moments in a wedding that are stressful, or you might not feel like comfortable. I mean, you guys know, because you've been married, what, 2 years?
A year and a half, I guess. Yeah, almost 2 years.
And you guys had, I forget, 2 photographers, or did you guys half shoot it yourself?
I wish we did take pictures at our wedding. Like,
I saw you guys. You guys had a camera at the altar.
Yeah, we did. At one point, like my nephews handed us a camera to take a picture of our perspectives of each other. Like,
That's so cute.
we exchanged rings and stuff. So it was like,
Oh,
it was nice. We had 2 photographers, not because we wanted necessarily to. The photographer that we hired, that's a close friend of a friend. Works with the specific person that they wanted at the wedding. So like we said, fine. And then I had a really, like, one of my closest friends who's a director. He shot a little bit of a video for us, and that's it. We kind of kept it like low key, I guess. We didn't want to go too crazy with the photography and stuff.
They look very cute.
I'm scanning my website to see if I use any words that I should take out. Like, I don't use the word photojournalist at all, or document, or light and airy, but I'm just questioning things. I just say that I capture beautiful imagery that is uniquely reflecting your story and shows your unique connection. So I say unique a few too many times.
It's all right. You got to be aware. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing. I think it's funny because like weddings, it's the industry. You're working with an educated audience, typically, not necessarily other photographers, but like clients. Like they don't know what photojournalism or documentary photography or light and airy is. They just see stuff they like, and if they see what they like and then they see that term attached to it, they'll be like, "Oh, I like this."
Yeah.
So it's like the word luxury in the industry. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't.
It's also funny because like a lot of clients, I guess, they kind of do want a fly on the wall experience just because they're not educated in
what that would look like.
And like, yeah, for sure. If I don't know the photographer and they're saying like they're going to be a fly on the wall, like why not? Like that's perfect. If you're going to get me these great images and you're really not going to be in the way or whatever, yeah, let's do it. But like they don't understand that like you need to really interact and like talk to the couple and make them comfortable and to get those reactions and stuff. So I do see like fly on the wall term a lot with photographers.
Yeah.
I think it's like you're saying from both sides, like photographers think it's the way you get good moments. And then they're like, oh, yes, the fly on the wall sounds good. They won't be in my way. Because everyone's been in that experience where they went to a wedding and the photographer was in everyone's face and like just like over the top. And everyone's like, I didn't like that. So they think the opposite is a fly on the wall.
Yeah.
True. I have been to weddings where I specifically couldn't stop looking at the photographer because I was like, I would not be there right now. Like, that's not where I would stand. Like, all I can focus is the photographer right now. They were like in front of everybody, like while they were like doing the rings, they were like on their like probably 35 millimeter, like getting close-ups of the rings. And I'm like, move. I want to see the people.
Time.
The picture's never worth ruining someone's real experience. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, that's just my opinion.
Yeah. But then I also asked Keith, I was like, wasn't that photographer annoying? And he's like, oh, I didn't even notice the photographer. I was like, oh.
Yeah. Most people are too focused on like why they're there. They're not like there to look at the photographer. But some photographers are obnoxious and like have big personalities, and that's part of their brand, and like that's part of how they do what they do. And we just work with people who don't want that.
Yeah.
The people who don't want that.
So when you guys met in university, how long were you, wait, what's my question? I want to know how you guys decided to get into weddings. Did you start separately and then kind of come together?
So they kind of started together and went separately. I don't know.
In and out.
Well, in university.
Yes. In university, a friend of mine got married. Like, I was going to get married. It was so random. It was very random, honestly. And I was working at the Globe and Mail at the time. I had my internship at the Globe and Mail. So, I was really pursuing that career path. And my friend was impressed that like he knew a photographer essentially. And he asked me to shoot his wedding. And he asked me to shoot it similar to how I would shoot like an assignment. He didn't want me to kind of shoot it like a wedding, I guess. He didn't want me to feel uncomfortable shooting it, I think is what it was. Because I told him I felt weird shooting a wedding. I feel like it's not in my wheelhouse. But he was really adamant and convinced me to do it. And then I kind of forced Ryanne to come with me because I was nervous and I was, I put a lot of pressure on myself to do a good job because I didn't want to fuck it up because I'm like, oh, it's a wedding. It's a big deal. Like, it's important. They're hiring me specifically to do this. So Ryanne always had a really good eye and was a really good photographer through her work that I saw like in school and just like, in her personal life. So I was like, can you just be here as an emotional support and take pictures too? And we did it. We had a lot of fun. My friend loved the pictures. And then
Avant-garde photos too.
Yeah, we did some stuff that was ahead of its time, I guess is what you could say. But it was a lot of fun and we really enjoyed it. And then from there, I kind of shelved weddings for a bit because I was working as an editorial photographer. But people like contacted us to shoot their weddings. It was so random.
I ended up making Brian a website mostly for editorial work, so he could start like pitching projects and like all these things to editors and all this different stuff. But then we just put one like small little category that was like under a subcategory of just like we put like a handful of photos that you had shot.
Yeah, but they were like very editorial, like photojournalistic-y, as ironic as that is. Photos where I could show an editor this is just telling a story in a different way.
So we had that in there, and then that's like people literally just started emailing him being like, I want a photojournalist to shoot my wedding. And he was like,
I was like, then Brjánn and I'm like, I guess I gotta like figure this out if I'm gonna do this for these people. I'm like, I could use the money, like sure, why not? Like I could like take on a couple of gigs on the weekend. Like I don't work on Saturdays typically unless there's a big event happening. And I was like, okay, sure. And then Ryanne built out like a website for me for weddings, a pricing guide, and we kind of did business stuff and kind of figured all that shit out. And then, I had maybe 5 or 6 weddings.
I actually think you had 8.
Had eight or so weddings while I was working full time at the Toronto Star. Like it felt like an overload of weddings at the time, but it was cool. It was a lot of fun, and it just kind of snowballed from there. But a lot of it had to do with the fact that Ryanne was, kind of working an off schedule to mine, and we could both dedicate, different times and things to the thing, and it kind of worked out. But then I noticed Ryanne was just so good and so great at doing weddings that I told her, I'm like, yo, you should just do this. You do your own thing here, because if I'm going to work in newspaper photography or editorial, like I don't have time to focus on this. So you should take on all this work and clients and do that. And then she did, and she kind of built her own career path and her own business that way, which was kind of great because we both want to do different things and we're both different creatives and we both have different ideas and ambitions.
I decided I wanted to transition into photography, and that was like when I made my website, was so that we both had our own voice, and like I was trying to pursue my own commercial work as well and just kind of have like my own style and my own approach, and just so that I had I think my own identity in the space of photography. And that was kind of why we had each website, and then it's always worked out great because it's just kind of nice to reach like the two audiences and then also just kind of be one in the background.
Were you always shooting on film, or did you start in digital?
I've been shooting film forever.
Yeah, so like, I mean, even back in the day, like when we were shooting weddings, when I was working as a newspaper photographer, I shot film maybe here and there for certain portraits that didn't have immediacy to the story, where it's like the editor's like, I don't need this for a week or two. So I was like, okay, once in a while I'd sneak in some film for myself, just like for my own portfolio essentially. And but for weddings, we'd always kind of had a little bit of both. Like I always just kind of shot it for fun, like while we were capturing the weddings, and then it quickly became like a 50-50 thing, and then even quicker became like just let's just do this because it's less complicated to then balancing two different mediums and formats. So yeah.
Amazing.
Cool.
When did you then make the switch to like, because you're mostly doing video now, right?
Definitely a lot more video.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd like switching to video. I think it just kind of happened that I'm getting a lot more
Okay.
with that. So like it's been nice because like that's something I do and Ryanne doesn't really want to do or doesn't really do. So it kind of doesn't want to do. Okay, fair. She doesn't want to do it. Well, so really enjoy it. Well, when I'm getting a lot of work from that, so like I'm kind of just rolling with it, and it's kind of nice because I've been a photographer for a really long time. It's nice to kind of do something else and within the same universe, I guess, but without taking pictures. But different approach and different stuff. But yeah, like now, like videos are kind of taking over. I'm doing like last year I did more videos than I did jobs as a photographer, which weird, but I love it. It was sick because I get to do it on analog and I get to do it my own way, and I get to use the cameras that I want, and I get to kind of make it my own, which is the only reason I'm doing it.
I wanted to ask about your destination stuff because I see that you guys travel a lot for weddings, and we actually were just talking about destination stuff, and I was explaining to Dorothy how I price my destination quotes. Not that I've ever done one, but I have quoted one. How did you like start getting into destination stuff?
You can go.
I mean, I think in terms of pricing, it's on a per project basis. Like it depends where. When and where. But anything that's like not too far, it's usually like flights, accommodation for 2 nights, if that like makes sense for logistics, 2 or 3. And then we just like, once we chat with the couple, we'll send them some options for packages, and all the travel costs are just included in there. So it's just like they can choose what package they want based on that. And it just like covers what we need on our end. And then we book everything ourselves because that's something we realized really quickly that is very important.
Yeah. I mean, you got to kind of do the cost analysis for your own business. Like for us, it's like we get to travel together. So like, and we have like frequent like we have perks where we can basically fly the 2 of us at the cost of 1 person. So when we're presenting quotes to people, it could be attractive to have, the 2 of us there for like essentially the cost of 1 person, because we can share a hotel room. We get like the 2 tickets for the price of 1 essentially, and all these other things, all these other perks. So it's kind of like doing that. Once in a while, there's like really nice places that like, in times of the year that we're not as busy and we want to travel and take a trip. So, we'll eat a bit of profit like on our end to kind of make something out of that versus just going in and leaving. So like Ryanne said, on a per project basis, and everybody's business is different. So the way that they would quote it, it's kind of like what's worth your time and what isn't worth your time, and like what's your time worth. And because traveling for work it's cool and fun and sexy, but it's also like a lot of work, and it's exhausting, and it's really stressful, and it takes up a lot of it actually takes up, an 8-hour wedding turns into like a 3-day thing, because you have to, travel, figure things out, check in, get settled in, make sure you have all your equipment. We got to travel with film with like 15 cameras. There's like, visas, like passports, like there's so many different things that have to align that it's not just like, cool, like I'm going to go to California and just fuck off and take pictures for a couple hours and get paid $1 million. Like I wish, but I don't say that in a bad way, but it's like, it's cool, but there's such thing as too much, which is what we've learned. There's such thing as having to get a travel schedule. It's nice to be home and have a routine and shit, so.
I literally got tired just getting my passport this last month because I had to wait in line for like 2 hours. And like while I was there, I was like, I don't even need to travel. Like I said, I'm over 30. I'm in my boring phase of life, apparently. I'm like, if it's over a 2-hour flight, she's not going.
Yeah, so at least you know your limits. We're still trying to figure out this.
Yeah. My limits are like, I will not drive 60 kilometers from Hamilton.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm kidding. I will go to Toronto, but
driving stuff.
I mean, the last like 4 times I've traveled, it's been with a baby. So
Yeah, it's a whole layer of complexity that
yeah,
understand.
I probably would enjoy it if I was going for a wedding. I would just be like by myself.
Yeah,
It'd be like a mini vacation on that flight for sure.
totally. Yeah.
Effie's just staring at the door, waiting for Juno to go pee. She's pooing. Oh, she's pooing. We didn't know that.
How did we get into that? I don't like. I think it was just we had a client that was in Toronto. Like one of the first destination things we did. Where actually the first one we did was Alex and Jason. That was a long time ago, but it was kind of the same thing. People living in Toronto doing a wedding somewhere else because of family or whatever. So they would hire us and then they bring us along essentially.
Yeah.
Once you're working in different markets and you have portfolios for those markets and you can market or advertise to those audiences, then it's easier to find work in those environments at that point. So like we kind of got lucky that Toronto is such a melting pot for so many people from different parts of the world that it was so easy for us to eventually work with somebody who has ties to a different place and wanted to do their wedding there and liked us enough to kind of bring us along, I guess.
Yeah. I've always thought it made sense when you like know the people, but I've always been like, you know, if you live in I was going to say California, but that's a bad one to pick. Like Italy, I guess. Like I'm like, why don't you just pick someone from Italy? Like, yeah. But I guess there's a bunch of reasons. Maybe even just like speaking English.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I do think the styles in Europe versus North America are quite different. Take a deep dive into most of the vendors who are there. So I think that's a factor. But when we worked in Europe, well, I guess it's a mix. One of the couples lives in Toronto. The other couple was living in Toronto, but then one of them's from Italy, and they ended up getting married there because now they live in Germany, Amsterdam. I don't know. They moved like 10 years.
Do you guys have a specific like off time at home since you work together? Like, are you guys like business is done, like 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, the end?
Wish.
Are working on that. In the past I've had a very difficult time balancing like work and when we're not working, but I do think as we've kind of leveled out how much we're taking on, we've gotten a bit better and we are trying to like work, I think, until dinner and then not after.
Yeah, I guess.
It's kind of like,
but it's hard.
Generally what we try to do.
It's hard. It's hard because at least for me, like I was, my whole career has been so deadline driven and working with deadlines, and anybody who works with deadlines in my industry will just do things literally an hour before they're due because that's what you do because you want to work under pressure, which is like photojournalists, we're the thrill seekers. We just love working under pressure. So like
also called
procrastinators. Yeah. It's funny. But it's interesting because like for me, like I get bursts of creativity where like I get in the zone and I want to work for like on something for 12 hours straight and I'll do that and then I won't work for like 3 days or something like so I like having that whole flow state thing versus having more of a scheduled routine and trying to force myself to get work done. But sometimes you have to get certain things done. You just have to hunker down and do it. But so like we're trying to kind of find a mix where it's like, okay, like we have this weekend off, like we're actually not going to work or like do emails or like do even like little things for work. But it's hard. It's hard to have like a super regimented like 9 to 5 style routine. I feel like when you're in a creative industry, at least.
And I do think it's not conducive to how both of us like work. It's like how Brian was just saying that like sometimes you'll like want to work for like 12 hours straight and then take 3 days off. Like we can do that because we work for ourselves. So I do think that not forcing ourselves to always work 9 to 5 is best for both of us because that's just how we are. And embracing that sometimes as long as we have some boundaries seems to work pretty well.
Yeah.
Did you find you're always talking about work though? I feel like you guys have a lot of hobbies.
We talk about like, I don't know, do we talk about work a lot? I guess sometimes in some ways, but not really.
No, I think there's a good mix.
There's a good
of our
mix.
conversation.
Yeah, there's a good balance.
We definitely, I mean, I think that is what's like we have a lot of similar hobbies and things that we're interested in outside of work. So we also have a lot of other things to.
What are those hobbies? I would like to hear.
Well, as you know, golf is one of them.
Yeah.
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 Well, we both played soccer until I tore my ACL and got a fracture in my feet.
I was talking about that on the other podcast because it doesn't matter. But basically, I was listening to a podcast and they were saying women are more like prone to tear their ACL because we have a cycle and we have this like chemical called relaxin. And it gets released. And so that's why like more women have ACL tears. Anyways, there was a big, long podcast and that was like summing it up really quickly.
That has nothing to do with like anatomy. Like
It also
A little bit, yeah, because our hips.
your hips.
wider.
Yeah. But she mostly said it had to do with when we're working out, how we're working out, at what time of the month, essentially. That's what the person who was on the podcast was relating it to. Anyways, side comment that didn't matter at all. You were playing soccer until you tore your ACL, and then volleyball obviously is a hobby. Do you guys still play?
No.
We retired from volleyball shortly after our university careers.
Yeah, so like originally I was going to go play professionally in Europe, and then I was like geared up, contracts are kind of lined up and ready to go, and then the Toronto Star offered me a job, and I was like, I'll do that instead.
Real career, short-term career.
Yeah, I mean, volleyball
feel like
experience, but
yeah.
I don't
I
want
feel like Brian should make a movie of his life and then try to sell it to Hollywood. Like, what is that company A24 or whatever? And it could be like photojournalist, volleyball player. I don't know. Anyways, you could make it cool.
Is there a movie called Life of Brian already?
There is a comedy. The life of. Come on, it's
Just take that.
It's a movie. Yeah,
You guys both cycle or bike.
big into biking. Yeah, love cycling. Love doing
And then we were doing softball together for probably like 8 years.
softball. Yeah,
We started playing at the end of university, and we started a softball team with all our volleyball friends and kicked everyone's asses, which was super fun. And then I got hurt, and now I don't play.
Yeah, I think we like doing sports and things like that just because you are so focused on doing something and you're moving that you can't think about work or you can't think about these things, and you kind of forget about that stuff. So it's easier to dissociate.
You know what? I feel better about myself because I don't have any hobbies, and I'm always like, I don't know why I don't have any hobbies, but like everyone's like, you should read or knit or like puzzle, and I'm like, I don't want to do any of those things because they'll take brain space, I think. But I do. In the past, I have played a lot of sports, but like sports are a group activity. You need other people to be able to do them. And like you need a court and like all these other things. And so generally speaking, I don't do a whole lot of sports at the moment.
All by yourself, like down and bike.
And rock
Well, I
climbing.
do bike. I did cycle quite a bit until I had my kid. And, you know, I started rock climbing like literally like the week I found out I was pregnant. I was going to become a rock climber. I was so tired rock climbing. I was like, what the hell's wrong with me? And then like 2 weeks later, I took a pregnancy test and I was like, oh, yeah, okay. And I canceled my membership. I called them. I was like, hey, so I'm pregnant and I don't feel like it's safe to rock climb. And I never went back, which is sad. So
That's fair.
Try.
You can-
pickleball. People are into pickleball. Are you guys pickleballers?
I've never played. I've avoided like tennis and all these sports because my shoulder's been so fucked from playing volleyball for like 20 years. But I rather play pickleball than tennis probably because it's probably less like impactful on that stuff. But it's very.
I mean, it's like built for like people over 60. So I think you're good.
My shoulder is that of an 80-year-old. So
We should all try it.
Ping is starting a pickleball like
Court?
accessory
Line.
line.
really, wow.
Ping is gonna make pickleball rackets. Yeah,
That's a good market to be in.
weird, eh?
Every casual sports game.
My mom said her friend who lives in Arizona or has like snowbirds in Arizona, there's like this, all the communities have crazy like pickleball courts. Then they have like a whole league where everyone's ranked, and it's just like very intense.
Random, yeah.
Honestly, it's probably saving people's lives because I think the number one like cause of death is like loneliness. So
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Well, you need people to play, so
yeah.
Can't always play the ball.
can't play with fear. Yeah, that's right.
If I ask you guys a question about Hamilton and reveal that you live in Hamilton, is that cool or no? You don't want to? Do you want people to think you're in Toronto?
No. People we tell our clients. People.
Oh, okay.
No secrets.
How long have you been in Hamilton for?
We have lived here for 3.5 years.
Just under 3.5 years. Yeah.
Nice. I've realized that you guys are big foodies, and I want to know your like top restaurants and like your go-tos.
Okay.
Go choose or top or different. I guess are different.
Or just tell me what I should
3
try.
restaurants. Le Tambour,
Yeah, sure. Yeah, for sure.
Maisie's Pearl,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Pin Bones in
Oh,
Dundas.
yeah, sure.
Oh, I haven't been to any of those.
I don't know if we can count Dundas.
Yeah, we can. That's Hamilton.
Or like we cannot pick 3 things in Hamilton. We have to outsource.
That's part of Hamilton. I don't believe that, but it's true.
I would replace pin bones with Maria's tortas.
Oh, okay, yeah. Actually, yeah. Or add.
Maria's.
Oh my gosh.
Effie has lived here for 2 years? 1.5.
Not even
1 year. Oh,
Not even
she
one.
hasn't been like
I moved in
anywhere.
in February last
Okay.
year.
Okay, stop yelling at me. She's lived here for 1 year in this February.
Yeah.
Okay, she hasn't been like anywhere. But anytime I ask her to go anywhere, she's like, I don't go outside. I don't do things. I only do sports.
So yeah,
I
like
took her to the Cannon the other day. It was the first time.
that's not bad. That's an okay spot.
Yeah, Maria's Tortas is in Stony Creek, and it's
Mhm.
the best tacos ever. Rivals all Toronto Mexican restaurants because it's authentic and delicious.
Yeah. I mean, we're lucky because one of my close friends, who's a photojournalist that I worked with at the Toronto Star, happens to live in Hamilton too. And him and his partner are pretty into food. So we started like the Tuesday night supper club. So every Tuesday we try new places and we pretend we're food critics, and it's like very fun. And so we've tried a lot of places because of that, and it kind of gives you motivation to like go. And we do like a variety of places, like high end to like casual like dives. And so it's been like a fun exploration of the food scene. But yeah,
We've had a winter.
Okay, I need you guys to go add this to your list of places to go. It's called Macy's Food Court.
Macy's Food Court? Where is that?
It's a convenience store on Cannon that makes tacos.
Oh God. Is that where Jenna did her shoot?
Yeah.
Not 1101 Convenience. They also do that.
No, not 1101 Convenience.
Is
The
it
address is 511 Cannon.
okay? Is the owner Mexican?
Yes.
Okay,
We'll try.
we'll try it.
It says killer authentic style tacos.
Interesting, and it's in a convenience store.
Yeah.
Okay,
What's your favorite place based on vibe alone?
in the city?
Yeah.
Probably Wildcat, I guess. Wildcat's probably the best vibe because it's just so chill and like easygoing. You just go there and hang out, and there's no expectations, or you don't have to try. I mean,
Okay.
that's probably my favorite vibe spot. But
Cool. Okay, I gotta go there.
yeah, it's just a dive bar. It's great, and the hot dogs are awesome. Into hot dogs, so
Nice. Now that I'm not vegan, I can try a hot dog.
I think they have
hot dogs. Yeah.
True.
So, but either
Try
way,
the regular one. You are.
I'm on a non-vegan journey, trying more restaurants now.
I mean, all the ones we named have pretty good vegan options. So
Good.
if you didn't, like maybe except for Macy's Pearl because it's like a seafood
Well,
restaurant.
Shannon got something.
I do eat seafood, and I like oysters.
Okay, so the first question was, how do you stand out?
Rapid fire.
Just like being ourselves.
In the photo making process, what's your favorite step? Planning, shooting, or editing?
Shooting.
Obviously. Yeah. What's your favorite thing to shoot, wedding or editorial / commercial, whatever? I mean,
Weddings.
Is that your answer?
My answer is I prefer to shoot
Things for yourself.
things for myself.
Ah, that's fair.
Personal projects.
If you were giving a tip for people starting in film, what is your first tip you would give them?
Shoot black and white.
Nice. So forgiving. And yeah.
And more options for cheaper. I could go into that, but yeah, shoot black and white. Do yourself a favor, shoot black and white.
Cool. Favorite black and white film?
Wait, what's your tip for shooting?
Well, I was
Oh,
going to like understand how to use a camera.
Be a photographer.
Being a photographer.
How to shoot film? Get a film camera.
That's a great piece of advice.
How do I get my photos to look like film? Shoot film. Okay, sorry. One tip for traveling photographers. Like, what's your, like, this is my hot tip that, like, you know, it's like small carry-on or something like that. Like, always have
negotiable.
Yeah, like always have one camera on you in case they lose your luggage. Like, what is your tip? What would your tip be?
Carry all your gear as
carry-on. Never check in your gear.
and not in a like
Pelican case. Do not use Pelican cases.
Don't use one.
Don't use Pelican cases.
not
You use
good, but because you will get flagged
And
because people ask you questions because you're carrying all this gear.
And then it's going to slow you down, and then you're a target for theft, everything, all the bad stuff.
Sure.
So you use a regular camera bag?
I have a
Topped?
actually we bring our carry-ons with our clothing. So like when we travel super light. So that's my piece of advice, is travel light. We have one carry-on for our clothes and like little things, and then we have like these really cool backpacks from a brand called Wander.
That's mine. I have that one too.
So we use those packs with different like configurations inside, and they can fit all our equipment, and we just that's it, and that's how we travel.
And they sit on our
And they sit on top of our
carry-ons,
carry-on.
so
So yeah, very very easy.
Those are all the questions that we did not answer as
job.
a rapid fire.
Good job.
this whole podcast could have been 20 minutes if you did them all like that.
Yeah, easier to do this really bad.
That's no fun.
I felt like we talked about ourselves for like an hour.
Yeah, I love that. Well, we like getting to know people and like where they come from and how they get into things. And
It's such a long journey, you know.
yeah,
Journey.
I don't know. It's like I can't cliff notes. That was the cliff notes. There was so much more that I've done. It's fun, but yeah, that's it's not impressive. It's just annoying, really. Honestly, I find it annoying.
I think it's
I don't think it was annoying.
no. So what's next for you guys? Do you have anything on the horizon? Any big plans? Any big projects? Any big life changes?
We are trying to go on a golf trip at the end of February.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah,
Where?
on a trip, Palm Beach, maybe, or La Quinta, California.
La Quinta?
La Quinta, California. I don't know, somewhere like
TBD?
TBD. Somewhere more warm. What's on the horizon? I don't know. Like, I got like a short film I'm trying to like shoot for like my reel, and just like to kind of produce something for myself.
What does it do?
That's the problem. It'll never be made.
We'll never see it.
No one will see it. But yeah, I don't know what's on the horizon. I think we're trying to take it easy until like things ramp up, because we got like 40 some bookings for weddings this year, I think, so far. And then a couple of commercial projects that we have to conceptualize and do pre-production for, and some post-production for some other commercial projects that we did late last year.
Yeah, and it's just like getting to that to-do list of things we could never do in the busy season.
Yeah, we also like artistic kind of direction. We want to take like our wedding photography brand and work and presentation and marketing, and we're trying to kind of just find the time to do that, and then also have a life, and also just do stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, as everybody is.
Yeah, honestly, like it's just like, you know, we're busy enough with work that we have to just try to be more mindful that we can spend time to work on things that we want, or not work on anything at all. So I think we're just trying to enjoy the time, because once spring and summer comes, it's over. There's no break.
Yep.
There's no break. So
Yeah.
You guys
Feel that? Feel it.
feel like you guys shoot more than we do. So I feel like, I don't know how you guys balance out your schedules and have time to do anything yourselves.
We shoot differently. because like obviously weddings take a chunk of our time, but then the other stuff is like a quicker turnaround, so it balances each other out probably better than shooting 40 weddings,
Right. Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah. I shoot like 10 weddings a year, and then the rest is just smaller projects. So
Yeah.
I can
Also,
use AI.
Effie would just probably travel to shoot a wedding and then throw it all in AI, and it would be done by the time she got home.
100%.
Work smarter, not harder. No, that's the way to get ahead in life.
The future. Yeah.
I mean, that's why we shoot film, because it's like, in our opinion, less work. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not AI level less work, but it's less.
Definitely is less work.
Definitely cuts down the culling for sure.
Yeah, definitely cuts down the culling, editing. Yeah, which is like the two biggest chunky time eaters. Yeah.
I mean,
He does have to scan everything, but he's pretty fast.
It's fun. I like doing that, actually.
do you scan your own stuff?
Yeah, so I have like a lab scanner here at home, like the ones that you would get your stuff scanned at a photo store. So I bought one of those several years ago, and yeah, I just scan everything, and it's kind of my time to just listen to music and kind of just zone out and
Yeah, he's in like a meditative state, basically.
like some music, and then maybe doing something else on the side while I'm scanning. But yeah, I really enjoy that process, and it saves us. I mean, it saves us a lot of money and time that I do it. So
Yeah.
just like a nice process, and it's nice to have your hands in the whole like creative workflow versus just shooting film. Like most photographers just shoot film and they drop it off and they get it scanned and it's over. They're really, and then somehow you just deliver it. They don't even edit the pictures, which to me is a mistake. But yeah, so there's a bit more to it than that for us, but I wouldn't change that right now.
And just like being in control of the scanning like helps
Yeah.
us with our editing, because we have less work to do on that end, because Brian is controlling how everything looks coming straight from the scan.
Yeah, sometimes people who are new to film will shoot it and then drop stuff off at a lab that doesn't really care that much, and they'll get their scans back and they'll be like, wow, film looks like shit. And it does, because the people who scanned it didn't put any effort or time into it, or the person doesn't understand how to edit their film to kind of make the most out of it. So it's not just like this super straightforward process that's just like show up, point and shoot, and it's over. And we kind of take care of the images in a more thoughtful way and a bit more I don't know, elaborative and more control. Yeah.
Cool.
This might be a dumb question, but do they just mail your stuff to you, or do you guys pick it up?
Yeah, so we use a lab in Toronto, so we drop things off in person and then we pick it up in person. Like we pick up the negatives. Like I won't develop the film because I don't want to develop like 200 rolls of film a week, but I want to scan it, so I drop it off and then we'll pick up the negatives, and then
we're pretty much in Toronto once a week, so it just works out that the one day we're there, we'll drop off and pick up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and maybe we can find I would love to have like a mule, someone who can drive for me and go and drop things off and bring it back for me, and I can pay them to do that. So that would be best case scenario, but
We are accepting jobs.
I'm if anyone wants, a little side gig once a week to drop on film, we're accepting resumes. Yeah.
I'll see if I can think of anyone.
Not me. I avoid Toronto. We have been talking for over an hour, and I know we can probably talk for way more because you guys are so interesting and have lived multiple lives compared to us.
Well, speak for yourself.
Okay, compared to me. But I want to thank you guys for coming on. It was really, really fun having you on and just learning about your side of the photography world. It's very cool. Can you guys let our listeners know where to find you on the internet?
Our Instagrams are at Ryanne Hollies, which I don't know if you'll be able to guess how to spell it, but you can try.
We'll put a link.
And my website is ryannehollies.com.
Yeah, and I'm just at 3B Photography, and then 3bphoto.ca would be my website.
It really took me a long time to understand your Instagram, and I don't know why, because your name's it's just right there, and there's 3 B's in it. So,
Yes.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward once you figure it out, but it's also less of a mouthful than saying my whole fucking name, photography.com or something.
yeah.
No, it's funny because most people don't understand what my photography thing is. They're like, what does this mean?
What is the 3B?
What is the 3B? It's like that's some sort.
They think it's like this deep thing, and you're like, I have 3 B's in my name, buddy.
Also, why do you spell your name like that? Is it your background?
Yeah.
What is your background?
I'm Portuguese. Yeah.
Very cool.
It's not a Portuguese name at all. So.
Or are you asking me why I spell my name?
Yeah, you could ask Ryanne why she spells her name like that.
Sure, yeah.
Because my parents are weird and dumb and decided to make this strange decision, a Y, where there should be an HI. And now everyone thinks my name is Ryan or Ryan.
Yeah, I did that. I called her. I'm like, I can't even say it incorrectly because my brain will be like, yep, that's her name. But like, I was saying it wrong for like 6 months. And I was like, one day, I was like, I've been saying this wrong. You guys did not correct me. I was like, what? No.
Like people say Ryanne's name wrong all the time, even people that we know and I've known her for years.
I mean, you could change the spelling if you want. Like Ruben's name is Ravim.
Oh.
So, and Effie's name is Eftahia.
Which I did just find out.
Which we just found out. Or the diploma.
You're like, what's an Eftahia?
Must be Effie. I showed Brian. I was like, do you think this is Effie? He's like, yeah.
Also, look at the last name. It doesn't get more Greek.
Yeah. Can you guys say it? I almost did it.
Ephethia or?
It's Eftahia Christina Simalakis.
Simalakis.
Eftahia?
Yeah.
Let's say.
Yeah. Oh, fun, eh?
My name's just Dorothy.
What does it translate to in English?
Well, Eftahia means happiness in Greek. But there's like no English translation of.
Yeah, just like my name, there's no Portuguese name for my name.
Yeah. Cool.
Which is weird. It's all weird too. So. Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna hop off because Dorothy has to leave. But thank you again for coming on.
We'll grab drinks sometimes or something. So all this.
Yeah, sounds good. All right. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Yeah, see you soon.
Bye.
Beauty. So movie. My favorite part of Rear Window is, do you know my favorite part?
The end?
When the guy comes in and he starts flashing him with the flash to save his life, basically, and the guy's like, I'm just like, this is so dramatic.
It's also crazy how, like, that flash, every time he flashes, he needs a new light bulb.
Yeah. Well, that's
how it used to be?
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah. It would break.
Oh, it breaks?
I'm pretty sure. Oh, no, it wouldn't break. I guess the filament thingy would, like, it would burn, right?
Crazy. Wow, I don't know how flashes work at all. As soon as he pulled out the camera, and I was like, oh, he's a camera guy. He's a photographer. Keith's like, is that why Dorothy picked this movie? And I'm like, I don't think so. I think it's just because, like, this is probably one of Hitchcock's best films ever. Yeah.
There's a lot online about how, like, it's one of his best, well, not best movies, but it's, like, critically acclaimed or whatever.
Yeah.
But also, like, do you know who Grace Kelly is?
She's just like a really pretty actress.
But she's also married to a prince, and
she became the queen of starts with an M.
I think you look at
that. Yeah.
Yeah. And she's just like in that time, that era. But it was really interesting the way it's filmed. Like the whole story takes place like in a courtyard, and you see everything happening through windows.
Yeah.
Which obviously Rear Window, like it's the back of the building.
That's such a cool set.
But it's just like so interesting, and like just how the actors, like, you know, obviously they would have to be on the mark, which I don't think would be difficult, like be within the window. But
yeah,
it's just, it's a very full story with like a very small set. And
yeah, he's basically in his apartment the entire time. And like you kind of just
he only leaves once. He's thrown out the window
forcefully. And so much of the story is just told just from his reaction to like what he's seeing.
Yeah.
So like you're just believing things because of his reaction, which is crazy.
And at first I thought
I was like, oh, before his reaction, I was like, ooh, I bet that guy's like murdering his wife and like bringing pieces out of the house like every half an hour. And then once it started getting to like the point where like they were really believing it and the cops were like, it could be anything, then I was like, oh, he's wrong. Like,
Yeah.
I thought maybe he was wrong.
Yeah.
But then he ends up being right,
Yeah.
which is crazy. I feel like there's not enough of a payoff of like realizing that he was right.
Yeah. Also, it's my kind of thriller. Like when
Yeah, it
you were
wasn't
like,
scary.
you were like, oh, it's a thriller. And I was like, it's like, there's nothing scary in the movie. You don't see anything. You don't see it happen.
Yeah.
Like the scariest part is like the guy coming into the room and like looking at him like menacingly.
It's more just a mystery. It's a murder mystery.
I guess that's what they would call a thriller in 1940 something, 30 something,
50.
50. But also like there's so much talking in that movie.
Yeah.
Like I saw someone say like after like the 90s was like the end of analog, like an authentic human experience like in movies, because like the way they film things. And obviously that was, I mean, everyone's gonna be like, obviously that was shot in film, but it looks really different.
Yeah.
You know, which I think has like a wholesome quality to it. Like,
Yeah.
you know how movies are just filmed like really sharp, they almost look, and like there's so much CGI in movies.
Yeah.
You're just like, what part of this is real? Like this whole thing was real.
Yeah. It's so cool. And even just like like watching and then seeing like a classic Hitchcock like camera movement.
Yeah.
It's so cool and just kind of nostalgic.
How would you describe a classic Hitchcock camera movement?
It's like a lot of like terrible shaky, like moving from here to like someone's close up of a face, like a wide to a close up to like get a react. I don't know how to explain anything.
There was a lot of close-ups of when they were kissing.
Yeah.
And I looked up on Reddit because Grace Kelly is 24 and he's like 35. No, sorry, 45 or something like that. Like he's double her age.
He was way too old. Keith and I realized that at the beginning. We're like, how old is he supposed to be? He's supposed to be playing, I think, a younger person.
Yeah.
But he's pretty old in it.
I think they didn't have as many actors
Yeah.
in Hollywood back then. So like,
Yeah.
and I think a lot of lead guys were often old.
Yeah, true.
Like Fred Astaire or whatever, he was in like so many movies.
Yeah.
And he was always like older, way older than like the woman like co-starring with him.
Yeah. I looked it up. It's she's called the Grace of Monaco. You're right. It was a princess. He's told me she became the Queen of Monaco. But her voice, it's like, it reminded me of also like Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz. Like they have a very similar like low and kind of like, is it like an upper class?
I wonder if
Kind of
part
voice?
of it is audio because
No,
they
that's
must
just how
have.
they talk.
I feel like they just didn't talk with like inflection or whatever it's called, like where, you know, like you're excited and whatnot. Like they always have like a, how are you today? And like, it's just like very like, I think it's the way that audio captures their voice and how it's recorded and how it's like digitalized. Like it's got to be part of that.
because
like everybody
it's not-
from that era like
No, 'cause,
speaks
like, the-
totally different.
Well, what about the masseuse? She didn't talk at all like Grace Kelly.
Yeah, I suppose. But
It's just like a way of like being sophisticated. Like they were probably like trained on how to talk in a sophisticated way.
yeah, I think it's like a mix of like a bunch of things. But
Maybe.
anyways, I think it's really cool watching things like filmed in film, which sounds so stupid. Like even like, I know I talked about this once before, like Gilmore Girls, like the first seasons compared to like when they did the reboot, like the first ones were shot in film. Like I feel like you can tell.
Yeah.
I don't know,
Yeah.
but
It's kind of nostalgic feeling.
I just like the interesting perspective, the POV, if you will.
Yeah. There's something about that movie and like just watching people in their private lives. It was also so weird because like
he was looking out the window the whole time, and literally no one else ever looked out the window except for that one guy after he murdered his wife.
If they were just like busy living their life and he was bored. So I think it made sense that like he's like, I'm just sitting here staring out this window because.
And they're just like doing so many things that like you would do in private, but like I would never do with my window open.
Yeah.
Like that one girl, the dancer right across, she's like shaking her ass and like bending down. I'm like, what the heck? She's literally asking for it. And then I found out, and then you realize she's like a professional dancer.
Yeah.
But still, I don't really dance around naked like that in front of the windows.
I mean, I think this is supposed to be New York, and I'm assuming more people do more things in New York. Like, even remember when we were in Toronto, we were on the Gardner, and who was it? Dahlia was like, imagine living like right beside your windows, like literally there. Like, I'm assuming you're just going to go about your life. I know a lot of people have their like shades pulled down and stuff, but I'm just guessing they're just living their life, not really thinking about it. But also, obviously, it's the premise of the entire movie. Like, if the shades were just pulled down, you'd be like, there goes the story. I think that all the time about movies where you just think, oh, if they just didn't do that one really dumb thing.
I know.
I also wonder, like, why he murdered her. Like, you never know. You never get the answer to that.
She was being a bitch.
Like,
he made her like dinner in bed, and she like, I don't know, laughed at him or something.
Yeah.
I was like, why are you being so mean
you
to
get
him?
like snippets of like, obviously they're unhappy, but you're like, why?
Yeah.
I never know.
Crazy. Also, the piano guy had like a party every night. I'm
Yeah.
like, what? These people are so like active and social.
Look at this.
This is what
Somebody
happened in the
wrote,
1950s.
Grace Kelly's screen presence in this movie is goddess-like. And then somebody wrote, I remember reading a quote from Jimmy Stewart where he said everyone sat around like every day just waiting for Grace Kelly to show up just so they could look at her.
Is she that pretty?
I think it's like hard to like think about how pretty these people were because like, is film 2D? Or is it?
What do you mean?
Because photography is 2D. So you're like flat. Like you can't get like the whole essence of like a person. Do you know what I mean? Like pretty on screen. Like normal pretty people on screen, when you see them in person, they're like literally beautiful, right? Mm-hmm. Because you always look a bit better in person. And that's why like in photography, I think people struggle seeing themselves because they're like, oh, I wouldn't perceive myself that way, right? Because you're capturing like a flat image of somebody where like so much more comes into play in real life, right?
True.
Like we're 3D.
True.
So like when you catch somebody like, for example, like if you have a double chin in the photo, oftentimes you don't have one in like real life. Or if you do, it's for like a split second.
Yeah.
But like you're capturing that moment forever and it could be like you landed on an ugly face.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like I think when people are like, when we see people in movies, like I haven't met a lot of stars, but I know people say that like Mandy Moore is like gorgeous. And I'm just like, she looks like an average human.
Yeah, she
looks pretty. I wouldn't say like, oh my gosh, I'm enamored.
Yeah.
But like, I bet if we met these people in real life, we'd just be like, you're perfect.
They probably have just like a star quality to them in like their personalities and the way they carry themselves and just the confidence, stuff like that. But I mean, she is pretty, but obviously like beauty is subjective. So it's just crazy that like literally she's just known as being like a perfect woman. And I'm like, yeah, she's pretty. I don't see the big deal. I wouldn't make it as big of a deal as everyone else is making it.
I think there's a lot about like, even when you were saying about like the way she carried herself, like she's really well known for that. So like maybe it is a part of like her grace, her charisma, just her overall like essence. This comment is really funny. It's like, I appreciate how pathetic the villain is. No sinister mastermind like some of Hitchcock's other villains or a landmark like Norman Bates. Just a henpecked husband pushed too far, desperately trying to cover his tracks. And yet played by Raymond Burr, he's still intimidating even enough to be a real threat.
Yeah, he is. He's scary. Big guy.
Yeah.
Good movie. I'm really happy. I'm really glad I watched that. I was thinking that the other day. I'm like, I
Actually, I do really like this movie club you made.
Yeah, I think that's why I enjoyed pushing myself to watch certain movies, because you're like, oh, I wouldn't sit down and pick this.
Yeah.
Like even the one that like made us cry, I'm like,
Yeah.
I didn't want to watch it. And then you're like,
yeah.
it's great to like have a widening range of like perspective and like to be grounded in the world again and like think through like somebody else's mind even.
And even going like back in history and like just understanding like all these directors and the what's the word?
Their artistic like voice.
Yeah, and just like understanding why these are like the greats, like why Alfred Hitchcock is such a great director, and like it basically just like history and film history. It's cool to have an understanding because I never really appreciated that before. Like I had to take a film history course in university. I hated it. I took an art history course in university. I like slept through it. It was the worst. I think I had to watch like what's Malcolm X or something.
Oh, I've watched that. Yeah.
So a bunch of other black and white ones, and I literally could never stay awake from
That
them.
movie is really hard to watch.
Is it?
Yeah.
And Citizen Kane.
Yeah.
I remember I had to watch Pulp Fiction for one of them, which I actually really liked.
It's really interesting though, like how, like even I was saying, like when I don't like a movie, like if I was to say like Citizen Kane, whatever, I watched it, didn't enjoy it the way like I enjoy something. A lot of times, like if you read about them, about the movies and stuff, and you can learn to appreciate something even though you still don't like the movie.
Right.
Is what I've come to like realize.
Yeah.
Like you still learn something. Like I always hate the movies that like don't end nice and neat. Like if you're like left open ended, I'm like, what happened? You know, and like it feels like you're just like, I don't know, I feel uncomfortable because I'm like, they didn't package their story up for me, and now I'm left with all these questions. And some people are like, that's amazing because like you can create like your own narrative or fan fiction, and you can like speculate what happened, and like you can speculate based on like certain cues in the movie. Yeah. Like, you know, like, oh, they probably went on to go to school because they talked about it once in the movie. You're like stuff like that. Like, and I think that's what made me like so excited about even seeing Wicked, because it's the whole thing is like basically fan fiction like made up, and you're just like, that's wild. Sure. Like they just didn't think Wizard of Oz was a well-rounded story, which essentially it's not. Like if you think about the Wizard of Oz, you're like these characters are just plopped into the middle of nowhere, and you're like, how did the Scarecrow come to be?
Yeah.
Like,
that's true. Everyone has a backstory on every movie. You could make spin-offs for every movie probably.
But for sure.
Yeah. Cool. Anything coming up this week exciting that you want to tell the peeps?
We're going to Go Place.
Oh yeah, I'm so excited. Yeah, we've talked about Go Place before.
Yeah.
Like the best spa.
It's really funny to be going now that I have like a spa in my backyard.
True, yeah.
But obviously the experience is much better.
There's more things going on. There's little robots that serve you things.
Yes.
Fun.
Yeah.
And Chinese New Year's coming up, or Lunar New Year, actually.
Next week. In a week.
1 week. And that's it. I'm getting a cavity filled, and I'm going to go into my follicular phase next week. So.
It's like a weather forecast. We're moving into Happy's follicular phase.
Get ready to see me going to the gym, lifting heavy, doing my HIIT workouts, eating lots of fish.
She may have lots of energy.
I'm going to have lots of energy, a lot of creativity. I'm ready for my follicular phase.
Oh my gosh.
You must be in your follicular phase.
I don't know if the people need to know this.
No, they don't. All the boys are going to sign off.
Yeah,
they're not going to listen
like,
to this.
Hey, you know what? It's helpful for them to know.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
Yeah.
Take care of your women.
Yeah.
Find out what phase they're in.
Avoid them if they're in a certain phase.
No. Pay extra attention to them. Bring them snacks. Dark chocolate.
We won't talk about it forever, like, honestly.
No, we'll get into our next thing later. We go into phases. All right. Good luck at the gym.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Bye.
All right, where can they find you?
They can find me at @VEditsPhoto on Instagram.
Nice. And they can find me at DorothyMay_.
And also follow our podcast Instagram.
Yeah, because we're super hilarious.
Super hilarious. You can see our viral videos.
30 likes.
Sesh Pod. Follow us.
Okay, bye.
Bye.